Today, let's look at the steps required to install Ubuntu 20.04. The prerequisites for this are: download the Ubuntu ISO from the Ubuntu website and create a bootable USB with the Ubuntu ISO. We will create another video on creating the bootable pen drive with Ubuntu image. Once we have these two steps done, we can boot into the boot menu of the system. Now the step to boot into the boot menu of the system may vary from system to system depending on the model of the motherboard or the laptop. So the recommended way would be to do a quick Google search on how you can arrange your boot priority of the device or get into the boot menu. Once this is done, you would see a screen like this where it will show you your primary hard drive, if you have a DVD writer, and the plugged in pen drive. In this case, I will boot into the plugged in pen drive where I have burnt the Ubuntu image. Once the booting from the pen drive starts, it will do a disk check to check whether the ISO is intact in the pen drive before starting the installation process. There is a way to stop this by pressing Ctrl+C, where it will start the installation process directly, but it's recommended to do this check. It's going to take some time. It's quite quick. Now that the check on the USB is completed, Ubuntu has actually booted up in a live instance. From this live instance, we'll be able to install it on a hard drive. So we get two options here: try Ubuntu and install Ubuntu. Now, if required, you all can play around with Ubuntu by using the try Ubuntu option, but in this video, I will actually install Ubuntu on the system. So I will click on install Ubuntu, and this will take me to select my keyboard layout, and my keyboard layout is English US. So I won't change it, but if you are not sure on what your keyboard layout is and you need to be precise about it, you can click on detect keyboard layout and it's going to tell you to press some key on your system to figure out what keyboard layout you have. So for now, I will continue. Okay, on the next screen, it's basically telling me, the apps that it needs to install. So I will go this time with the minimal installation, where it just provides me the basic utilities and the web browser. I really don't require the media player, the games, and the office software because we can install it later as needed. In this case, I am going to install Ubuntu updates while installing, and I am going to install third-party software required for the system. In order for this option to work, your system actually needs to be connected via Ethernet or Wi-Fi. So else only you'll get this option or it will be disabled. Let's just continue and go to the next step. Now that we have the next screen popped up, it is basically telling us whether we need to erase the disk and install the operating system on the whole disk, or whether we need to create a separate partition. I will go with the second option, something else, and I will create the partition that are required to install Ubuntu. So as you can see, I have a 1 TB hard drive on which I would like to install Ubuntu, but I would like to keep Ubuntu and the swap area in their designated partitions. So first of all, what I'll do is I will create swap area of like 2 GB. So the reason I'm going with 2 GB is my system has a 4 GB RAM, and it is sort of recommended to keep like half of that for the swap area, and I'm going to call it swap area over here, and I'm going to say okay. It's going to take some time and create that for me. Once this is done, I will go to the free space again, which is available, and I'm going to create one more partition. I'm going to keep it primary itself, not going to go into logical, and this time I'm going to roughly have like 70 to 75 GB of partition for my installation. The format for this is I'm going to keep it to ext4, and I'm going to select slash as the mounting point. These two are the basic requirements that you need to basically create or install Ubuntu onto the system, swap area and ext root partition. The remaining hard drive, basically I'm going to keep it for my data and other installations. So in this case, let's just click on install now. It's going to give us a confirmation box where it is telling the swap area and the partition where it's going to install Ubuntu for us. So that looks good. I can say continue. It's asking me for my location, and India is my location, so I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. It's asking me for my name and stuff, so I'm just going to provide my details over here real quick and actually hit the continue button. It is actually in the process of copying the Ubuntu files over to my hard drive, and if you want to see more details, you can expand this section over here. Basically at this point, since I have selected the install updates for my system and to do minimal installation, what it's going to do is connect to the internet and actually download the required software or the updates for the software that are required. And once that is done, it's going to actually remove few of the utilities that it installs before, and then the installation will be actually completed.